All right, finally, Gong Lum versus Rice. 1927. Now, Gong Lum, G-O-N-G. Martha Lum is the daughter of Gong Lum. Gong Lum is a Chinese man involved in the mercantile business in Mississippi. Martha Lum, his daughter, is a citizen of the United States. She's 9 years old, and she desires to enter Rosedale High School, the high school of Rosedale Consolidated School District. She turns up at school. Remember now, Mississippi, which of course I also did read for you, has a statute that does what in regard to education class? What does it do? I did read the Mississippi statute for you also in terms of education. But it separates the race. It segregates the race. You know that. So she turns up at Rosedale. The superintendent also turns up, and by noon, she's out of Rosedale. Her father brings suit that his daughter, Martha Lum, is an educable child of good character, so too is he. He's a taxpayer of the state of Mississippi. That both himself and his daughter are what the petition claimed to be pure Chinese. So they were not black, they were not Negro, right, or definitions of a Negro, they were pure Chinese. And as such, since there was no school in Mississippi for those who were pure Chinese, and since Martha Lum was not Negro, and see how now the synonymity of Negro-colored person of color comes into play? Because Martha Lum is basically claiming that, you know, I may not be white, but I'm surely not Negro. And I'm not colored really either, or person of color. I am pure Chinese. Well, Mississippi listens to her petition. I said, look, listen, Martha, you may not be Negro, you may not be colored, you may not be whatever. You're not white. You're not Caucasian. And true, we don't have any school for persons of the yellow race, but we surely have a school for those who are colored. And so you have an option. You can go to the colored school. You can decide to get a private education. But one option that you do not have, Martha Lum, is going to Rosedale. In other words, the white school. The state courts affirm the position of the school district. The case reaches the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court affirms the decision of the state court. And it cites its own decision in Cumming. And the class, to see that your computers are all firing. What element of Cumming do you think the Supreme Court called attention to, called on, as it affirms explicitly the decision of the Mississippi courts? Yes, Mr. Schreiber.
Because they didn't have a separate school for Chinese people, they didn't mean that they were restricted. This meant that they couldn't go to the white school, they had to
on the margins. Yes, Mr. Wood?
Education, state action, or state controlled, so federal Supreme Court has no ruling power.
Almost there, but not quite there. Need a little bit more specificity. Remember? Yes, Ms. Conlon.
I guess just in addition to that, that it didn't violate any of the rights secured by the 14th Amendment since it's a state matter.
Right. There was no unmistakable disregard of any right secured by the organic law of the land. Because after all, said the Supreme Court, true, we concede that Gong Lum is a taxpayer. We concede everything. That Martha Lum is an educable child, that Gong Lum is of good character, that she also is of good character. Well, what we do not concede is that the federal government may now intrude itself to tell the state that it may not regulate how it sees fit, right, to educate its own children. And in regard to the separation of the races, this, said the court, not explicitly but clearly implicitly, does not constitute an unmistakable disregard for rights secured by the organic law of the land. So, just briefly, facts of the case as I have told you. Court says the petitioner takes the position that because there are no separate schools for Mongolians, that she's entitled to enter the white public schools in preference to the colored public schools. But then it goes on and it cites explicitly from Cumming what I had read for you last time. So I don't need to read a long section of it. What is germane here? It says, while all admit that the benefits and burdens of public taxation must be shared by the citizens without discrimination against any class on account of their race, the education of the people in schools maintained by state taxation is a matter belonging to the respective states. And any interference on the part of federal authority with the management of such schools cannot be justified, except in the case of a clear and unmistakable disregard of rights secured by the supreme law of the land. The question here is whether a Chinese citizen of the United States is denied equal protection of the laws when he is classed among the colored races. Is putting Martha Lum among the coloreds, though she claims to be pure Chinese. I should have read that language to you where it says, she claims that she is not a member of the colored race, nor is she of mixed blood, but that she is pure Chinese. That is her prayer to the court. But the court says, the question here is whether a Chinese citizen of the United States is denied equal protection of the laws when he is classed among the colored races and furnished facilities for education equal to that offered to all, whether white, brown, yellow, or black. Were this a new question, it would call for a very full argument and consideration. But we think that it is the same question which has been many times decided to be within the constitutional power of the state legislature to settle without intervention of the federal courts under the federal constitution. In short, Martha Lum has suffered no violation of any right secured to her under the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution.